The docking clamps hissed as the transport vessel settled into place on Zareth Prime. Carolyn remained seated, spine straight, fingers still. Around her, the other human delegates fidgeted, wide-eyed, nervous, trying not to look out of place. Kara didn't share their anxiety. She'd memorized the mission parameters down to the commas. Observe. Learn. Never engage. Her presence here wasn't an accident. It was a calculation. Outside, the sky boiled in shades of deep violet, streaked with the jagged shadows of the Virexian towers. Their architecture looked like bone grown from steel, sharp, cold, and brutal. This was the center of the Virexian Empire, the heart of warrior culture. And Kara, a human exchange student from Earth, was about to walk into their combat academy. A tall, reptilian figure greeted the group at the entrance. General Turvik, commander of the academy. His armor shimmered with heat-reactive runes. His voice was like gravel dragged across metal. "You will not be trained," he announced. "You are here to watch. Nothing more. Humanity has no place on the battlefield." One of the humans nodded too quickly. Kara didn't react. As they passed through the gates, alien students watched them with undisguised contempt. The academy yard was alive with combat drills, blades, bone staffs, and raw physicality. Virexians thrived in aggression. Their movements were brutal, efficient, lacking grace but rich in force. In contrast, the humans walked like visitors in a museum full of predators. "Human girl," a voice spat. Kara turned her head just enough to make eye contact. The speaker was Varnak Droll. He stood a head taller than her, with muscle bands wrapped tight over scaled arms. A favored heir to one of the top combat lineages. His sneer didn't need translation. "You are the quiet one," he said. "They say you won't speak unless prodded. I might test that." Kara tilted her head slightly. "If provocation is all you understand, I won't waste your time with answers." The others around him laughed, mocking, low sounds. Varnak stepped closer, gaze boring into her like heat. "We measure worth in strikes, not riddles." "I'm here to watch," she replied. "Not compete." He smirked. "Because you'd lose." She said nothing more. She didn't blink. Days passed. Kara moved through the academy like a shadow. She observed classes, recorded notes on combat rituals, attended lectures on Virexian honor codes. She said little but noticed everything: how they carried their weight, where their defenses faltered, how even the best of them left openings under emotional stress. She also noticed Juno. Juno was only 12, part of a cultural child exchange trial. Too young for this world. Too trusting. He'd arrived with bright eyes and too many questions. The Virexian students mocked him constantly, sometimes shoving him, sometimes worse. Kara had warned him once. "Don't wander near the east yard after third bell." "Why?" She paused. "Because they don't see you as a student. Just as prey." Juno had tried to smile. "They'll come around. Once they know us." Kara didn't answer. She just walked away. A week later it happened. Training drills ended late. Students dispersed. The air shimmered with post-combat heat. Kara was headed to the dormitory when she heard it, a yelp, soft, swallowed quickly. She turned the corner into the east yard. Varnak had Juno by the collar, lifted off the ground with one hand. 3 other Virexians stood nearby, arms crossed. Juno kicked helplessly, fingers clawing at Varnak's arm. His feet didn't touch the ground. "You speak of empathy," Varnak said to him. "Is this what Earth teaches? Weakness dressed as virtue?" "Let him go," Kara said. Varnak turned his head slowly. "Stay out of this. This is correction." Kara stepped forward, voice even. "Release him." One of the onlookers scoffed. "Or what?" Varnak smiled. "She won't do anything. They never do." Kara's fist stayed loose at her sides. Her breathing steady. She replayed the council's instruction in her mind. Only intervene if a child is in danger. And Juno was in danger. Varnak flexed his arm. Juno's neck twisted, A strangled cough escaped him. Kara moved. 3 steps. A pivot. Her hand snapped around Varnak's wrist. Before he could react, her foot struck his knee from the side. Off balance. Then her elbow crushed into the socket of his shoulder. A twist. A downward lock. Snap. It echoed through the yard. Varnak screamed, a ragged, choking sound of disbelief. He fell backward, clutching his shattered limb. The silence that followed was total. Kara turned to Juno and helped him down gently. "You're all right now?" He stared at her. You broke him." She looked at the crowd. "He left me no choice," one of the Virections whispered. "She moved like a shadow." Another. "That wasn't training. That was execution." Kara faced them all. Calm. Focused. "You've mistaken our silence for weakness," she said. "We didn't come here to fight. But we haven't forgotten how." No one moved. No one challenged her. She walked away without looking back, her steps quiet against the stone. Varnak's screams still echoed through the academy corridors when the medical drones arrived, hovering spheres of white and red, their scanners flickering in alarm. The crowd backed away as the machines encased Varnak in a sterile gel, hissed painkillers into his bloodstream, and began assessing the shattered ligaments and torn tendons Kara had so precisely ruined. Juno stood beside Kara, trembling but breathing. His collar was torn, skin red from pressure, but otherwise unharmed. He kept looking at her, like she'd transformed into something else entirely. "You didn't blink," he whispered. "I couldn't afford to," Kara replied, eyes locked on the med drones. The head instructor, Master Kyrix, appeared seconds later. His long battle cape trailed sparks from embedded circuitry. His eyes, cold, predator-focused, scanned the scene, registering the injured elite and the silent crowd. "What happened here?" His voice was sharp, formal. No one answered. Not even the other Virections. Kyrix's gaze landed on Kara. "He assaulted the boy," she said. "I intervened." He stared at her like she was a paradox. "You are not authorized to engage in combat." "I didn't engage in combat. I stopped an assault." The silence weighed heavy. "Then, escort her to command." 2 armored guards appeared. Kara didn't resist. She touched Juno's shoulder gently before following them. "Don't speak to anyone," she told him. "Especially about me." The walls of the command chamber were lined with tactical maps and interstellar battle stats. The air was dry, filtered too thoroughly. Kara stood in the center, hands clasped behind her back. 4 officials watched her from an elevated dais. General Turvik was one of them. "Name," a voice demanded. "Kara Lynn. Human representative. Cultural observer." Turvik leaned forward. "You disarmed and disabled a senior cadet. With bare hands?" "Yes." "In 3 seconds?" "Yes." A pause. They were waiting for her to elaborate. She didn't. "Your dossier lists no combat experience," said another. "No training certifications." "That's correct." "Then what did you do to him?" "I stopped him." "By crushing his shoulder joint and severing his tendon trios?" Kara didn't flinch. "He lifted a child by the neck. That act carried lethal risk. I applied the minimum necessary force to neutralize the threat." General Turvik's fingers flexed. "You showed precision most warriors here haven't mastered after years. Who trained you?" Kara paused. "I trained for defense. Earth is not as fragile as you believe." Another official, female, narrowed her eyes. "Are you a spy?" "No. I'm a warning." That earned a shift in the room's energy. Turvik's voice dropped an octave. "You humans lost the solar siege without resistance. You surrendered." "No," she said quietly. "We survived." The weight of that word hung heavy. Turvik leaned back, gaze unreadable. "Return to your quarters. You are suspended from observational duties until this matter is reviewed." Kara bowed slightly, turned, and left. Back in the dormitory, The human delegation watched her like she'd grown horns. Some fearful, some in awe. No one spoke until the door clicked behind her. "Is it true?" one of them asked. "You really fought him?" "I stopped him," Kara said, removing her boots slowly. "But he's Varnak Droll," another whispered. "He was genetically enhanced." Kara looked up. "And still broken." They didn't ask again. News traveled fast. By morning, the academy was humming with disbelief. Rumors morphed with every telling. Some said she cracked Varnak's skull. Others claimed she used a neural disruptor. A few insisted she was an AI in disguise. The truth sat heavier than all of them. She had broken a Virexian elite with technique alone, without rage, without weapons, without raising her voice. She'd dismantled a legend. And Varnak? He wasn't seen again that day. Later, while walking past the arena rings, Kara felt it, the eyes. Dozens of students watched her. Some curious, some wary, a few reverent. One stepped forward. A lithe Virexian with sharp facial ridges and an imperial sash. "You embarrassed a warrior of bloodline Droll," she said. "That's not easily forgiven. I didn't come here to earn forgiveness. What did you come here for?" Kara looked at the sparring rings. "To learn who we're dealing with." The student's jaw tensed. "You act like a weapon sheathed in silence." "I was taught to stay silent until action is the only language left." The girl nodded slowly. "Then we misunderstood your species entirely." "Yes," Kara said. "You did." That evening, she received a message. Not official. Not from the council. Just a single encrypted line from an unknown source. "They know now. Be careful." She deleted it immediately. At night, she found Juno sitting near the simulated forest in the east wing, legs tucked, staring at nothing. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "They don't bother me anymore. They're recalibrating. Give it time. They'll decide whether to fear or hate." He looked up at her. "Are you afraid?" Kara shook her head. "Not anymore." He hesitated. "Can I be like you someday?" She sat beside him. "You can be better." Meanwhile, far above the academy, in orbit, a silent discussion unfolded between Virexian tacticians. Recordings of Kara's takedown were reviewed. Motion analysis. Bone pressure simulations. Origin markers. Everything about her technique screamed one thing. Earth hadn't surrendered. It had simply gone quiet. For 30 years, they assumed humans had accepted subjugation. But now, questions burn. How many others like her existed? What else were they hiding? And most of all, what would happen if they stopped pretending to be weak? The tribunal hall was carved into the spine of Mount Varkas, a place reserved for military trials, war promotions, and species grievances too delicate for open court. Today, for the first time in its centuries-old existence, it would hear a case involving a human. Kara stood alone in the center of the chamber. Around her, tiered seats filled with Virexian officials, combat masters, diplomats, and scholars. Each one leaned forward slightly, expressions unreadable, yet charged with silent calculation. She had not worn armor. She hadn't been given any. Instead, she stood in the plain charcoal uniform of Earth's delegation, a soft contrast to the sea of bone-plated bodies that surrounded her. No weapon. No defense counsel. Just her silence. "Begin proceedings," ordered High Arbiter Servac. A holographic recording appeared above the dais. The fight. 3 seconds, 3 movements, 1 broken warrior. No embellishment. No trick. Just anatomy and instinct. Gasps swept through the chamber as the slow-motion replay showed Varnak's arm twisting in a direction no joint should turn. Then the stillness, Kara standing over him like an echo waiting to return. "State your defense," Servac commanded. Kara's voice was calm. "Juno Terrace, a minor, was in mortal danger. I acted under Section 7 of the Galactic Accord, Intervention for Preservation of Juvenile Life. Your directive here prohibits combat," growled the council member. "My directive also requires protection of innocents." The two conflicted. I chose the one that ensured someone lived. A pause. Did you come here intending to display human power? No. Then why did you hide your capability? She looked directly at the speaker. Because you weren't ready to see it. A murmur passed through the audience. Kara stayed still. Your people lost the war. Someone shouted from the rear rows. We lost the battle, she corrected. But we adapted. And we never stopped preparing. That landed like a thunderclap. Servac narrowed his eyes. How many others like you exist? Kara's answer came without hesitation. Enough. The hall went quiet. Later, in private, Servac sat across from General Turvik. She was trained with precision far beyond our cadets. If this is standard on Earth, we've made a grave mistake. Turvik rubbed the base of his jaw. It wasn't just skill. It was control. She knew how much damage to inflict. No more. No less. She didn't gloat. She didn't even defend herself with pride. That's the terrifying part, Turvik muttered. She wasn't proud. She was prepared. They looked at the tribunal logs. Motion data. Medical reports. Psychological reads. Everything pointed to one inescapable conclusion. Humanity had allowed itself to be underestimated. And now the galaxy knew. Varnak Droll's recovery was slow and humiliating. The arm wouldn't fully heal. Varexian biology prided itself on regeneration, but Kara had broken him at pressure points most didn't know existed. He refused to appear publicly, but in the darkness of the medbays, he watched the footage again and again. He had not seen it coming. No warning. Just a blur and pain. In private, he whispered, She didn't hate me. That's what scared me most. Back at the academy, Juno walked the halls without flinching. No one touched him now. The other species gave him space. Not out of pity, but respect. He found Kara by the simulation garden, feeding data into her portable scanner. Are they sending you home? He asked. Soon. Because of what you did? No. Because of what it revealed. He hesitated. What did it reveal? That Earth has been silent too long. That maybe it's time to speak. Juno looked at her. I hope I can fight like you someday. Kara looked up from the scanner. You won't need to. That's the goal. On her final day, the Academy held an informal gathering. No speeches. No banners. Just silence and observation. Several combat students approached her, each nodding with quiet acknowledgement. One asked, Would you train with us? No, she said. I didn't come here to teach. Then why did you come? To show restraint. They watched her leave the ring with something akin to reverence. Even those who resented her now understood, her strength wasn't in the breaking. It was in how long she had waited before doing so. Before departure, Kara was summoned once more to command. General Turvik met her alone. I reviewed your entire profile. I know the parts that were hidden. She didn't react. He continued, Earth has rewritten itself in secret. You've been training while pretending to be diplomats. While we mocked you. We needed you to stop looking, Kara said. So we stopped showing. Turvik stepped closer. You just altered our war doctrine. Congratulations. Kara tilted her head. Then consider peace more seriously. A beat. Then Turvik nodded. Just once. As Kara boarded the shuttle, Juno ran up with a folded scrap of material. What's this? She asked. A patch, he said. Academy students wear them. I made you one. She unfolded it. A crude design, a human silhouette standing before a galaxy of stars. One hand open, the other in a fist. She smiled, just faintly. Thank you. He waved as she ascended the ramp. Inside the shuttle, she strapped in. Looked once more at the Academy towers disappearing beneath the clouds. She didn't feel victorious. She felt seen. And that was enough. Earth orbit shimmered with the glow of defensive satellites as Kara's shuttle descended through the upper atmosphere. Even cloaked, even silent, they watched. Millions of eyes built into orbiting shells, artificial moons, repurposed weapons hidden as weather stations. Humanity had learned. Kara stepped onto the skybridge at Terminal Nadir, a structure wrapped in glass and steel, where Earth's elite passed like whispers. No applause greeted her. No medals. She was expected. She was simply home. A man in a charcoal gray coat met her with a tablet and no smile. "Name," he said. "Kara Lynn." He scanned her iris. "Code name confirmed. Proceed." Beyond him, the doors slid open to reveal a white hall stretching deep beneath the city. She followed the flickering guidance lights in silence. At the end of the corridor, a conference room buzzed with quiet tension. 5 members of Earth's Defense Council stood around a central display. They paused when she entered. Counselor Reese spoke first. His voice, clipped and cold, carried weight beyond rank. "We saw the feed. The droll air is crippled." "I followed protocol," Kara said. "Protocol said intervene only if lethal threat was clear." "He lifted a child by the neck," Kara replied. "What more did you need?" Counselor Venn, younger and sharper-eyed, stepped forward. "You didn't act emotionally. You acted surgically. That changes everything." Kara didn't answer. The footage looped on the screen, again. They weren't reviewing her strike. They were measuring its consequence. "You broke the quiet," said Reese. "The one thing Earth had left." "No," Kara replied. "I reminded them why it existed in the first place." Venn folded his arms. "And now, the Accord High Chamber is demanding clarification. They want an official statement. They're terrified. Let them be." Counselor Venn smiled faintly. "You sound like a soldier." Kara's face remained still. "I sound like a realist." Reese stepped closer. "You've made Earth a threat again. Do you understand that? I made Earth impossible to dismiss." That evening, she returned to her quarters. The room was quiet. Stark. Clean lines, neutral tones, a cot that felt like the safest coffin in the system. A wall panel blinked, a message. From TR. Subject: "You shouldn't have waited so long." She typed back. "I waited until someone couldn't breathe. You would have done the same." No reply came. She didn't expect one. She closed the panel and sat cross-legged on the floor. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes shut. Her mind drifted, not to the fight, not to the tribunal, but to the look in Juno's eyes. Not fear. Not all. Hope. And somehow, that carried more weight than any tribunal. 3 days later, Earth received a formal diplomatic request from Thalvora Prime. Not a protest. Not a threat. An invitation. Kara was summoned again. This time, not to explain herself, but to advise. The Defense Council gathered inside the Zero Vault, where humanity's survival projects were monitored. From nanite weaponry to interstellar stealth drives, this was where Earth's hidden sharpness lived. Venn nodded toward the display. "They want to send students to Earth. For combat exchange." Reese was skeptical. "You humiliate one, and now they want to study us?" "They want to understand," Kara said. "Or prepare to fight us properly," Reese muttered. Venn turned to her. "You're our bridge. What would you do?" Kara thought for a long moment. Then, "Open the door. Just wide enough. Let them walk through it, but make sure they feel the weight of the threshold." 2 months later, the first Virexian transport docked at Luna Academy, Earth's surface moon training installation. 10 students disembarked, led by a lean cadet with golden ridges across her brow. Her name was Sally Vor. Kara recognized her, one of the observers who'd watched the aftermath on Thalvora. "You are the one who broke Varnak," Sally said, stepping onto the soil. Kara met her eyes. "I am. We've come to learn. And we've come to teach." They clasped forearms, not as enemies, not as equals. As a test yet to be graded. Meanwhile, across neutral systems, news trickled through forbidden channels. The humans are not weak. They remembered everything. They chose silence. That's worse than defiance. The Vexery warlords began reinforcing their outer colonies. The Xarn clans reactivated ancient alert protocols. The Great Dominion recalled its ambassadors from Earth. Fear, the Council noted, was more powerful than missiles. And it was earned. One evening, under the stars of Earth's artificial gravity dome, Sally watched Kara spar with holograms. Swift, fluid, unreadable. Sally shook her head. You never move first. I don't need to, Kara replied. Sally glanced down at her claws. You held back for decades. Why? Kara lowered her stance. Because we believed you could evolve without violence. And now? Kara looked up at the stars. Now we teach through example. In a secret archive below the Pacific Ocean, a file updated itself. Subject, Lynn Kara. Status, Catalyst Event, confirmed. Outcome, Shift in Galactic Power Perception, active. Recommendation, maintain veil, but reinforce edges. Across the display, a single line blinked, freshly input by unseen hands. Earth is awake.